Barbarella movie that's gonna come out. So you have a bunch of celebrities there, Corden and Camila Cabello and Idina Menzel. The issue is that like we already have bad traffic. I was late to the morning meeting because of traffic. Like I love Idina Menzel. Do I want to be late and get in trouble so that she can sing "Let's Get Loud"? I don't know. What do you think? You're about to come back. Do you want to be greeted by that as you leave LAX?
I've got no problem with it, specifically because I've yet to see a flash mob in real life. I feel deprived. I want to actually see one in person, in the flesh. So please, James Corden, I'm coming back on Wednesday. Bring that flash mob somewhere in my neighborhood, please.
You know what? I don't know if we have Brooke in the Twitch chat, but I would love to find out what percentage of our audience has seen a flash mob, because I don't think I have actually.
Me neither.
I don't think I ever have. So I'm curious. Maybe we can get a poll going.
But anyway, if you got a flash mob where James Corden is hip thrusting the air, I need more of that in my life, please.
I mean, look, I'm not gonna turn down Camila Cabello singing to me, and I think Idina Menzel's awesome. I would definitely listen to that. But the James Corden section. So anyway, look, I want to read just a couple of tweets that came up in real time as this was going around on Twitter. A lot of it focused, oddly enough, on the James Corden section. So Pesky's pole dancer said, "Imagine being late to work because James Corden had to do hip thrusts at you in a rat costume." Michael Barclay, like this could be a tweet from me, says specifically came to LA to get away from James Corden, and now he's dancing in a rat costume in front of my car. I just want my breakfast burrito. Like if you stop me, like if I miss the breakfast menu because of your flash mob, we're gonna have problems. But my favorite tweet was from Connor K. Dot, who just tweeted this. I don't know if anybody's seen the movie, but 100%. Anyway. Okay, Waz. Look, we're running out of time. It's always great to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us. Ellie's missed you. We're glad to have you coming back.
Thank you, man. Miss you guys too. Appreciate you guys.
And everyone, a reminder: you're gonna be able to catch Wozni again Tuesday, September 7th at a new earlier time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, right after the bonus episode. So everyone, give Waz a great welcome when that starts up again. Wozni, have a good day, man.
All right, later, y'all.
Thanks. And for those of you watching at home, let's see. I think we can read a couple of comments. We have a minute, right? Okay, Gail referred to our earlier story, says, what TF is wrong with police? I've been asking that for years. Jennifer says, roll tide dragons, roll tide vaccinated dragons. That would be my only addition to that. Okay, Maria Hall D, subscriber 14 months, says 14-month anniversary. More than a year on and still keep coming back to see TDR, Johnny Pie, and hang with Dragon Squad. Thank you. That is a massive commitment. I really do appreciate that. When they are 15, subscribe for 9 months, says hello dragons, hello to you too. Khalil subscribe for 13 months, says Baker's dozen of Bezos bucks, huzzah. Thank you so much. Okay, finally, Beta Ray Bob says a little something to help so we don't have to see PragerU commercials come up on YouTube when you go to break. Thank you, although you can support us all you want. We can't control it, unfortunately. I really wish that we didn't have those, but what are you gonna do? Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Indisputable is coming up in just a few. Looks like Adrienne Lawrence, of course it's Tuesday. So Adrienne Lawrence is gonna be joining Dr. Rashad Ritchie. So everyone go check that out. It's coming up at twitch.tv/TYT and youtube.com/indisputable_TYT in just a few. But until next time, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.
All right, welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richard. Good to be with you. We got a lot on the agenda today. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking down news of the day. One of the greatest legal minds out there. We have Adrienne Lawrence, author and TYT contributor, obviously attorney at law. Also, during the debate segment, the bullpen, we have John Burnett, managing director of Empire Group, political strategist and New York University professor. That's going to be quite interesting. We will break down COVID-related restrictions as well as mandates, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, my top story for today, a pastor and former police officer walk into a Walmart to return a $300 television that they purchased hours earlier, and they both get arrested and accused of stealing the TV. You guessed it, they are both black, yes. They walked into this Walmart in Texas, okay? The return policy for electronics is clear. They were within the return policy directive. They had their receipt. They have now filed lawsuit claiming discrimination, false arrest, imprisonment, and breach of contract. Let me give you some background to this lawsuit and what happened at this Walmart. The plaintiffs are Dennis Stewart, a former police officer, and Terrence Richardson, a current pastor. They were handcuffed by the police at a Walmart in the Houston suburb of Conroe, Texas, after trying to return a $300 television last September. The lawsuit said Stewart bought the TV earlier in the day, but said it wasn't working properly, and so wanted to return it according to the lawsuit. The two men said that when they went to return the TV, a white employee at the customer service counter accused them of stealing it and refused to acknowledge their receipt as proof of purchase. They literally provided a receipt, okay? They said the associate called the police. The lawsuit said the police arrived, handcuffed them, and took them to the loss prevention office. where Stewart was said to have broken down in tears. Police released the men, but Walmart, ladies and gentlemen, was not finished, okay? A store manager reportedly asked the men, a past and former police officer, to sign a paper stating that they would be arrested if they ever returned to the store. The men claimed a Walmart associate shouted at them and said, and I quote, "Take this effing receipt, take that effing TV, get the F out of this store, and never effing come back." Now, I want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, these two men who were simply returning a product purchased were not only targeted, but the employee was rude. And when they realized these men stole nothing and they were free to go, Walmart made them sign basically a no trespass document, a paper to say you can never come back to this Walmart again. That just adds to the insanity of what happened here. So I can almost understand, kind of, that an employee made a mistake, right? You got somebody in customer service, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're messing up the brand of Walmart. But according to the lawsuit, it didn't just stop with that employee. It then continued with the actual management of the store. Adrienne Lawrence, what are your thoughts here?
Well, I think these individuals have a pretty sound case. How are you not going to tell me that this was discriminatory? The fact that they targeted these individuals under a basic kind of stereotypical race bias against black men, the thought that you must have stolen that, and then to essentially double down and say, and don't come back after the level of degradation from calling the police, handcuffing them. I understand why the man cried. The fact is that you have individuals who are not only one of them, a former public servant, and the other gentleman who is a pastor, man of God, sitting there doing right, and yet they are treated as criminals from the jump. I wouldn't be surprised if their lawsuit is under the Civil Rights Act. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, it prohibits discrimination in public accommodation spaces on the basis of things like race. And these individuals definitely seem that, based on the allegations here, that they were targeted because they are black.
Walmart has a problem. And Walmart has some explaining to do. So in my research, I saw many accusations and even some caught on video of Walmart employees being Karens to black and brown consumers. I've seen the allegations based on lawsuit filings against Walmart for discriminatory practices within the workplace. So other employees have experienced this. So now at some point, we have to demand that Walmart answers for this systemic oppression happening inside of their company. While many times Walmart will release a very general statement and say, we do not tolerate discrimination of any sort, et cetera, right? They're not actually talking directly to these instances. And what do you think it would take, Adrienne, for Walmart to truly do an about face and realize that they also are protecting the culture of racism and corruption inside of their institution?
Oh, you just need a good old-fashioned boycott. You need people to hit them where it hurts, which is at their bottom line.
That's right.
And thus stop patronizing their services. Take your happy butt over to Target or go somewhere else. My God, hit maybe a mom and pop shop, but stop feeding them financially. And then I assure you they will get right. Because what you have here is people on essentially on the ground floor who are exercising their power, their societal privilege. And they're essentially treating us black people any which way they want. And the company is doing absolutely nothing about it. And as a result of that, there's no deterrence whatsoever to treat all of us with respect and dignity. And so we should not be patronizing their institutions, end of story, period, until they get right.
That's right, and that's why tort law is so important, because it does transform the social makeup of these companies, the policies of these companies. And I want to remind people, the reason why I can talk about this story, the reason why we know about this story is because these men filed an actual court claim, okay? If they would have simply put this on social media, this is not a news story. If they would have just told their family and friends, not a news story. The court, utilized the right way, can be a great remedy, not only in the court of law, but also in the court of public opinion. These men utilize their rights and they filed the proper lawsuit against Walmart. We have more. There's another story. Many of you have already seen this. Let me just take you first to the video.
We're in Gulfport, Mississippi, Craig, and I'll tell you the biggest sign, the biggest indicator that I saw this morning about the force of the storm last night is that the mail delivery has returned. We saw postal workers going out delivering mail this morning. Just a couple of minutes ago, people were walking their dogs. They're back on the beach right now, and that's the sense that you're getting, that the rain has stopped, the wind is still going there. I think we even have a random person going around. I'm going to turn this way because, we deal with some people every once in a while. But, one thing that we are noticing is that the mayor said the curfew is still in effect. The curfew is going to be going on for at least until a period of time in which they can go ahead and survey all the damage. They did get some reports of some down power lines, of some trees that have fallen, or at least limbs that have fallen. So they're going to go ahead and do that survey to make sure that they're okay. Craig, I'm going to toss it back because we have a person who needs a little help right now.
Hey. We're going to check in with Shaq Brewster just to make sure all is well. There's a lot of crazy out there, a lot of crazy. And Bill Cairns, thank you as well. Again, we'll make sure Shaq's okay.
Okay, I'm a nonviolent man, but I do believe in self-defense. This unnamed individual would have caught them hands if he approached me that way. Now, big ups to this correspondent, extremely professional, dynamic in his job. Let me give you some background. This was on Monday morning. MSNBC correspondent Shaquille Brewster was reporting on Hurricane Ida. Now, I don't have to remind everyone how important that is. This man is literally risking his life, his cameraman risking his or her life in order to bring valuable information to those who need to know about the hurricane and the trajectory, okay? Dangerous work, needed work. This was in the Gulfport, Mississippi area when a man driving in a truck saw the reporting and decided to get out of his truck, run up and do exactly what you saw him do. We do know that this is a middle-aged white man. They have not identified the individual as of yet. We are waiting on that proper identification to bring that information to you. The MSNBC anchor is Craig Melvin, was righteously shocked by what happened, but he did give us an update via Twitter. Craig Melvin tweeted, "This is beyond unacceptable and disgusting. Shaq Brewster was trying to do his job on a beach in Gulfport, Mississippi. Shaq is okay. This guy who nearly attacked him clearly is not, okay? And then we did hear later from the correspondent, Mr. Brewster, and here's what Mr. Brewster said. Appreciate the concern, guys. The team and I are all good. Now, he doesn't want to become the story. That's why he's not going into much detail. He doesn't want to be the focus. The focus is his reporting. He allows the stories to tell themselves. He's not trying to be the focal point here. But here's the unfortunate reality. You have a deranged individual driving in a truck, running up to you while you're working. You cannot assume this person is just going to argue with you. I gotta say this because we're living in a time where we're giving so much leeway as it relates to these white male fragile terrorists, okay? People that are just angry to be angry. Now, according to the report, this guy, this middle-aged white male, he was shouting, report the real news or some mess like that. I guarantee you, this guy's a Trump supporter. He believes fake news all the time. And he's in that white fragility crowd, all right? So we do have a better picture of the individual. Can we put that picture up? All right, that's more of somebody identify this clown. Damn, I mean, let's figure out who he is, okay? Before the confrontation, a family had been strolling on the beach with dogs, so Brewster initially believed pets, not the man from the pickup truck, were rushing from behind. So he initially thought this may be that family he saw earlier. That's according to NBC News. The man was moved off camera for a few seconds, and then Brewster had the camera shift to another angle, being a professional, and an NBC News producer intercepted the charging heckler, okay? Brewster used his forearm to shield himself as the man walked back up to him, incoherently rambled, report accurately, before the producer and the photographer were able to separate the men. The heckler then left, all right? Here's what his boss said, and I'm glad that the MSNBC president, Rashida Jones, said something directly about this, because many times top leadership, they will not get involved in this publicly, okay? Like the consummate professional, he did not let someone intimidate him from doing his job. We're glad he and the team are safe, and we couldn't be more proud and supportive of their work. Okay, attorney, let me ask you this now. Let's just say he ran up on someone from Glenwood and he caught them hands.
Yes, definitely self-defense argument. If someone is coming at you and it is clearly kind of a reasonable response to think that they could possibly get violent, as this gentleman was physically accosting him to a certain extent, then yeah, without question, that's self-defense. Also, if you wanted to bring a civil suit, you could possibly bring a suit of some kind of assault, maybe even a battery, depending on how close the gentleman got and if he was physically in contact with him, which it did seem to be the case. The thing that really sits with me here is that, we want to capture this gentleman who rushed up on him as being deranged, insane, not mentally stable. We have to realize that to the extent that racism was involved in this, that racism, these attacks, these are not necessarily mental health issues. And we need to stop the excuse for these people who have chosen to attack and essentially try to disrupt the system. And the reality too is that daily, Black people are often adversely affected by racism all the time. That impacts our mental health, the stressors, the fact that you can't even just do your job and feel safe without someone coming to try to undermine it and attack you. It's just, it's exhausting.
Yeah, I think we utilize that broad stroke of this person was not well, this person was mentally ill. Let's be very clear, and I'm studying law. You are a well-known and defined lawyer. The issue is, did they understand the difference between right and wrong? Mm-hmm. That's your issue, right? This man was driving.
Depends, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, it definitely depends on how we're looking through the lens if we're talking about things like insanity. But this individual, they knew what they were doing. Right. This person, I think there's some kind of symbol, maybe it's a logo of somewhere he works. This individual is perfectly sound and capable. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were targeting him, and they decided to essentially act like they have all the privilege in the world and roll up on him. And again, if it was a wrong, different person, he could have caught those hands and been perfectly fine legally. But who knows how it would have happened if the cops rolled up.
And think about this, Adrienne, because there was a time when people like this, right, would try to do things outside of a camera. Mm-hmm. He's literally pulling up, getting out of his truck, knowing good and damn well a camera is rolling, because I believe he wanted to be on camera. I think he did it intentionally, because there has been this atmosphere around these individuals inside of their own communities that celebrate them. They become heroes to a particular segment of society. So no longer are they ashamed of their behavior. No longer are they embarrassed by the camera. They are now seeking it. This man literally sought an opportunity in order to get in front of a camera and to be accosting to someone reporting on a hurricane. All right. We got more on the other side, all right? This is indisputable. Stick and stay.
Well, the Young Turks, the Rioters show is gonna be awesome. We're gonna help us over here. Drop it. We became the first ever daily online web television show.
No, the Constitution is the very core of America. The fact that we don't spy on American citizens, that we get a warrant, that we go to a judge, that we have a procedure, that we have due process. That is America.
On top of it, they go, why don't they just stay at their own schools? You gotta realize something. These schools suck. They want people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. You ain't got no straps, you ain't got no boots.
He lit these fires in trash bins all around town out of frustration.
99th most viewed channel today on YouTube.
The Shorties Award. Best web host.
We passed 1 billion views.
Voice Award winner, News and Information Channel, The Young Turks. Oh, another Webby.
The Young Turks.
Can I curse? Yeah! For those of you watching on live stream, yes, we have adopted a pet iguana that showed up at our door.
Haunted version in the dark with our silhouettes.
Now let's get to the best line of the debate. And it was definitely the one against Fox.
I told you we were coming.
When you talk about it when it becomes a problem. Our lack of gun control is a problem.
Nonsense BS story is hurting that cause, and they need to wake up and recognize that they are being had by these people.
Biggest gang in America. Question is, how do we make sure that we blame the person who is dead? What kind of democracy is that?
We should never forget that the most powerful people in the world exploited the greatest tragedy in American history to go to war in a country that had a lot of oil.
Rolling thunder. That's what this show is.
Never in my life did I think I would like to see a dictator. But if there's going to be one, I want it to be Trump.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
Where's the line? We've crossed every line you can imagine.
We are a socialist country. It's socialism for the rich.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
You don't have to know the truth, just believe what they tell you.
There is no bounds to their monstrous hypocrisy. Tick-tock. I think we're gonna win the Senate in 2020. And I think we're gonna have the House, and I think we're gonna have the presidency. Tick-tock.
And in 2020, we're going to clean your clock, and we're gonna run you out of town, and we're gonna have an actual democracy in this country.
November of 2020 could also be potentially the greatest day of our lives. Let us whisper of a dream.
Say hi to the camera.
I don't like this.
All right, welcome back. It's indisputable. Glad you're here. All right, we got a lot of comments. Before I get to the comments, let me remind you that right after Indisputable, we got the big homie deep dive with Jordan Yule. That is exclusively on Twitch, all right? In order to watch Jordan, you gotta go to twitch.tv/TYT. He has remarkable analysis of what's happening around the world. You don't wanna miss that. And tune in for his analysis on what's going on in news and politics. That always really precise, really smart guy. And also the conversation today live at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, 2:30 Pacific time, tyt.com/live before the Young Turks. TYT investigates a few stories, major real estate conflicts of interest. Make sure to subscribe and watch all of the interviews at youtube.com/TYT conversation, okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to these comments. TYT member, next TYT reporter says, why are people of color's documents the only ones that are ever questioned? Kelly O'Hara, this is my poet. Walmart's making these racist rules and acting up like Boo Boo the Fool. Their ridiculous crap shouldn't bear any fruit. May they go down in the guy's lawsuit. I love it. Bars. Loving it. YouTube super chat. CK Progressive. I also bet that white guy was not vaccinated, and that reporter would definitely have to get tested. Yeah, the whole crew. Burnett the Kiwi Dragon, white shirt, green trousers. It's Peter Griffin. You cracked the case, Burnett the Kiwi Dragon. All right, Kasim Meadows, peace and blessings, brothers, peace and blessings. Yoda Speed, thank you. Kelly Williams, thank you. Jacqueline Chastain, hello, Dr. Richie. I wait every day to watch you. You are awesome. Well, you're awesome also, and I come every day so that you can watch me. You see how that works? Thank you. All right, Robert Wallace says, the beautifly brilliant Adrienne. Loving it. Hawkin Break says, Adrienne and Dr. Richie, nice.
Yeah, very cool.
Jim Garcia. A pastor ex-cop walking to a Walmart. Sounds like the start of a great joke or possibly a bad one, right? Okay. Pete and Rick show. Let's all refuse to go to Walmart until they apologize. Yeah. Listen, I agree with that. I just don't go to Walmart anymore. I haven't gone to Walmart in a very long time. They don't treat people right, in my opinion. Marty Moose. I'm a former manager of Walmart. Those trespass make you banned from every Walmart, not just the single store. Wow. E.G. Art, when I was a reporter, young, someone groped me on camera. He also got my mic right on the face for it. Well, E.G., you must be from Glenwood. Thank you for sharing. Twitch, Depressed Progressive says, does that employee have stock in Walmart? Just return it, this is gross. Consume shrooms. Imagine pulling over your car on a beach to get in the face of a reporter. I really can't imagine it. Nobody can. That's, who would do that, right? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring you to the governor of Florida. Ron DeSantis is now withholding funding from schools in the state of Florida. This guy is for defunding children, but not defunding the police. He created an executive order that would ban school systems from creating a mask mandate in their local community. A judge just ruled and said Governor DeSantis operated, and I quote, without legal authority. The judge has spoken. Your executive order is nothing. They are appealing, but after the judge made the ruling and said, you are operating without legal authority here with your executive order to stop school systems from mandating masks, this happened. He decided to defund school systems who are defying his executive order that has already been deemed to be not legal. You can't make this stuff up, all right? The administration of Florida, Governor DeSantis, is going ahead with plans to financially punish school systems. And look at how petty he's being. The Tampa Bay Times reports the education commissioner, Richard Cochran, withheld funds from the Alachua and Broward County school districts that are equivalent to the salaries paid to school board member salaries. How petty is that? They literally sat down and calculated how much these school board members get paid. And they said, well, let's make the ongoing penalty exactly what these school board members get paid. And believe me, they're not paid a ton of money. But you add up those salaries and you start taking away that money from the school system every single month, that's real money. Those are real resources you're taking away from actual children. okay? Listen, my mom who adopted me is still a high school teacher. Every year, I have to make sure she has enough money so that she can have the proper classroom. She's not paid a bunch of money. The school system doesn't have tons of money to give away. When I was a high school teacher, everybody was on a tight budget, okay? So taking away this kind of money from the school system, yes, it can be detrimental. That's number one. Number two, they decided to publicly connect it to the salaries of school board members. Now, why did they do that? Because they want you to blame school board members for them defunding the educational system in that local jurisdiction. That is their political play. Let me put up a picture of Mr. Corcoran. There he is, right? This guy, who is now the Commissioner of Education for the state of Florida, he's a straight politician. He's not an educator at heart. He's the former Speaker of the House in Florida. He's anti-teacher unions. This guy is simply a political surrogate, nothing more. Both of these counties defied DeSantis by implementing mask mandates. Why? Because they were protecting children, and refused to back down in the face of the governor's threat. However, there is some question of whether the decision to withhold funding from the schools will hold up in court. Let me read this direct quote. Corcoran's announcement Monday came after Leon County Circuit Judge John Cooper on Friday ruled that DeSantis, the governor, overstepped his constitutional authority in issuing the executive order. Wow. That's from the Tampa Bay Times. Cooper issued an injunction barring Corcoran, the Department of Education, and the State Board of Education from enforcing the governor's order. Seems clear cut, right? They still went forward with it. It was not made clear Monday evening whether the announcement about withholding funds from the Alachua and Broward district schools conflict with Cooper's ruling. And that's why we have our legal analysts here to answer that question. Let me put up the heroes, some of the heroes of this story. This is Dr. Carly Simon. She's the superintendent interim of Broward County Public Schools. And then also this is Alachua County School Superintendent. And I'm, this is one of the most insane things I've seen in a long time, because literally they seem to be in conflict with the judicial order and they don't care about it. Let me do those pictures again. The first young lady that you saw was Dr. Vicki L. Cartwright. She's with Broward County. She's the interim. And then the second picture is Alachua. All right, there you have it. Attorney, I thought when a judge told you you don't have the authority to do something and you decide to do it anyway, you are held in contempt of the judicial order. What am I missing here?
That generally can very much be the case, but if you do alter your behavior in a slight way, which may be essentially what DeSantis is doing here, you can at least reasonably argue to the court that, hey, I'm not doing exactly what you told me not to do. But I think what we're really seeing too is the fact that DeSantis is harming everyone around him. Like, you absolutely are right in terms of his pettiness. The fact that he harms teachers, these school board members, they're paid an average of $36,000 annually, and they receive about roughly $10,000 in benefits. So you're talking about people who are not making a lot of money. And the fact that this also harms students, which is pretty big in Florida, because Florida ranks, I believe, about third in the nation when it comes to K through 12 achievement. It's been doing very well. If you think that this won't set individuals back, set students back, Come on now, Florida is one of the nation's pandemic hotspots. Yet still so many individuals there think that, hey, society should be doing less. There should be fewer restrictions to control the virus. And as a result, kids are getting sick. It just seems that logic left a long time ago when we're talking about Florida and the way DeSantis is running the show there. And you have to really ask yourself, is this person here to actually lead and govern, or is he just trying to lead us all into an early grave?
Very well said. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free. Back off. I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
You know, I just do that.
Yeah, it does.
Look at that. Boing. Look. Boing. Who has hair like that?
Me?
You got some kind of something.
I want to let you know how you made me feel about when you was touching my hair and when you said who has hair like that and when you were like bling. I felt like it was offensive, hurtful, and racist.
I was not dogging you.
I mean, no, listen.
This is cute. I love that.
I get it, but you're not supposed to touch it without permission. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, baby, I'm black.
You're not black.
Yes, I am.
You're not.
Yes, I am.
You're not.
Listen, let me tell you something.
You're not.
When I went to middle school.
No.
Yes.
No.
7th grade.
You are not black.
Okay.
You can't tell me that
you're recording this too high.
Accept it because.
You don't accept my apology?
I don't. You just said.
Honey, I did not mean to offend you.
You did.
Your hair is beautiful.
I appreciate it.
And I didn't mean nothing like anything I said.
You have to explain to a grown woman that you don't go around and pet black people like your animal, like your pet. Somebody has to explain this to you. The individuals here have not been confirmed as far as identity is concerned, but it happens. Now, we have seen instances of this happening to black women, and Adrienne can talk more about that. But it does also happen to black men. I've had that attempt happen to me before. A white female wanting to touch my waves, my hair texture without permission. Now, what if a black male walked up to her and started caressing her hair, wanting to feel the texture? You see how that doesn't work the other way? Okay, Adrienne, a teachable moment for this Karen, right? And maybe for others.
And you would think at her age that she shouldn't need to be taught that lesson, that you don't pet people as they are animals or oddities or something that should be on a circus display or exhibit. But that's exactly what's communicated when white people often come up and want to touch your hair or to inspect you in some way as though you are some creature as opposed to a person. And the fact is that too many people also respond when they are called out or when you just voice and communicate your feelings that they say, no, it can't be that way. This could not be racism at all. And then on top of that, for her to unleash what the white woman tears I got to see, get out of here with that. That's self-focus. That is turning the narrative back on yourself, and thus you become the victim when really you victimize someone else. I really suggest that people maybe stop talking, educate themselves, listen a little, learn a little, and stop being low-key racist and then denying it and making yourself the center of attention.
And what the hell happened in middle school that made you black? Remember, she said, oh, no, I'm black. No, because in middle school, what?
I was the minority. I hear that all the time. And I teach anti-racism courses as well as anti-sexism and so on. And I hear that too often where people want to flex on this proximity to blackness or proximity to people of color. I do not care if your friend is black. I don't care if your mom is black or even your dog is black. I don't care. If you are not black, you're not black. I don't care how quick you were raised or what kind of experiences you've had. It is not yours to proclaim. Also, you do not get to essentially denigrate someone and saying that their feelings are wrong. I'm just seeing that kind of behavior, all of it. I prefer even a contentious interaction as opposed to things like that.
And you made a remarkable point about the self-victimization role here, right? You do something offensive, but now we have to coddle you because all of a sudden you're teary-eyed about it, right? And we need to now say, no, they're there. It'll be okay. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
We are on to something that is going to be amazing, but what we need is your help.
The number one problem is there's too much power in too few hands.
Every single problem that we have can be traced back to dark money.
They take large donors, they serve large donors.
So these handful of gatekeepers try to dictate everything.
Like all of you already know, they don't work for you, they work for their donors. So fire them and hire people who will only work for you that say no corporate backed money.
We are going to change the way we elect candidates in this country.
Uncorrupted Democrats. We're gonna fight for the issues and win on policy.
This is incredibly personal. We need free healthcare for everyone.
We're fighting for $15 minimum wage, single payer healthcare, debt-free college, and we are gonna get money out of politics once and for all.
I've taken a public pledge not to accept any corporate money.
Because the last thing we're gonna do is go into another presidential election and run a corporatist against a populist candidate.
At some point, the buck needs to stop, and it's gonna stop with us. It's gonna stop with Justice Democrats.
So who are we?
People who do not take corporate PAC money.
We're relying on small donors.
99.9% of our contributions came from people.
You're a Justice Democrat, so you don't take any corporate PAC money.
I'm not influenced by money.
As a Justice Democrat, I made that pledge.
Not a penny.
Absolutely no.
I will go to Congress unbossed and unbought.
We try to create a government which works for all of us.
That is what America's about, and that's what a representative democracy should be about.
We are just getting warmed up here.
Vote for uncorrupted Democrats. The fight starts now, it starts today, and it starts with you.
I've been honest with him. Like, yeah, I was upset with you and I shouldn't have done it. But instead I was like, I'm just trying to protect my engagement ring.
Did you know that more than 20% of the world's oxygen comes from the Amazon? Why? Because of trees. I know what you're thinking. Of course! So what do we want to do? We want to plant more trees so we can save the climate. It's quite literal. So that's what leads to our new partner, Plant Your Change. Love it. It's so easy. What they do is you take the credit or debit cards you already have and you plug it into the system. And if you so choose, you get to round up every purchase to the nearest dollar and they plant a tree for you, okay? Now you could also choose if you wanna do it on only certain kinds of purchases or only so often, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But literally every cent makes a difference here. It's Plant Your Change. And if you wanna know more information, just go to tyt.com/trees. Let's go save the planet together.
Now, top. No. No. No.
Today, a terrible day for the internet, a terrible day for America. The internet as we know it is not going to exist anymore.
A real dark day for information and yet another way that they're bleeding out the democracy.
We're now going to have these gatekeepers of information deciding what we can and can't see, and that's what scares me the most.
Whether you're conservative or progressive or anywhere in the middle, this is the one thing we should all agree to. Protect the internet, because the establishment is coming for it. Don't let them destroy the internet.
Welcome back, it's indisputable. We got a lot of comments, let's get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, TYT member Rob. Thank you, Rob. Rob says, great analysis, Dr. Double R. Thank you for that, my brother. Ocam's taser. Has Biden chimed in about following through with his promise of making sure that money is reimbursed to the school systems? Exactly. That is an easy fix. Just get involved and just do it, right? I agree with you. YouTube super chat. Jenny DeSantis says, I look forward to your show every day. Makes my East Coast commute home much better. Keep giving the truth, killing it in the bullpen and exposing those Karens. Love you. And Jenny, I love you back. Thank you for that. Peter Hamby says, Ron DeSantis evolves, wanting to be above law. Kids are beneath him, from the Haiku Dragon. We got two, all right. A hairy fetish, Karen goes racist to Pooch. She wigs out on him. From the Haiku Dragon to Dr. Adrienne Lawrence. Thank you, brother. All right, May Money in the building. The hair touching happened to me a lot. Touch me without permission. You're getting mollywopped. Also, pray for my friends home in Tahoe. Fire is crazy. So sorry about that. Definitely will, all right? Definitely will. Diane Raymond, thank you, Diane. And Diane, welcome to Tier 1. Roger Harris, what in the Rachel Dolezal hell? Dragon Slayer, Slayer Dragon, oh my God. What a world it could be if people took Adrienne's advice. That's right. All right, Twitch, Yeetwood Mac. It's extra sick because they claim the mask disrupt education while they defund education. Boom, exactly. Showing you that children are just pawns in their political chess match, right? Is it Prodran? I'm sorry if I slaughtered that, my apologies. She must have saw Soul Man and thought that she could get away with just saying that I'm black too, and somehow think it will be done by just saying that. Let me first say this. I think it's so awesome that you remember Soul Man. One of the greatest movies in the history of cinema, okay? I don't care what anyone says. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got more. There's a far-right congressman who has called the insurrectionists at the Capitol political prisoners, and he has virtually called for bloodshed. I kid you not. Let me bring you to this GOP far-right insane person. Madison Cawthorn appeared to suggest another Stop the Steal type rally in DC is coming. Okay. Leading up to that, however, he decided to be very sympathetic to January 6 rioters and terrorists. Let me go to the video. Here it is.
What are you doing to support the 535 Americans that were held capture from January 6th?
Political hostages, make no doubt. So this is something that we are trying to figure everything out about. There are some criminal activities going on when my office literally is sick of. We have a mop law to be able to ask almost any federal agency any question we want. And when we're seeking answers, they are giving us the biggest runaround that you possibly can imagine. And so the big problem is we don't actually know where all the political prisoners are. And so if we were to actually be able to go and try and bust them out, and let me tell you, the reason why they've taken these political prisoners is because they're trying to make an example.
When are you going to call us to Washington again?
We are actively working on that one. I don't have an answer to that one right yet, but man, we are actively working on this. We have a few plans in motion that I can't make public right now. And there are a lot of Republicans who don't want to talk about this because they say, oh, that's too controversial. What's controversial is we have 536 people who are being held in solitary confinement for 23 hours out of the day, who are not being allowed to be able to have religious freedoms, who are having their rights stripped away from them, not being incapable of being able to have someone come represent them. It's political hostages. And this is something that when I first started hearing about it, I was like, no way that's going on. But my friends, I'll tell you, with the small amount of investigating we've done, it is going on.
Very dangerous individual there, a United States congressman. This congressman refers to the January 6th attackers, the terrorists there, as political hostages and political prisoners. That insinuates that someone should bust them out. Someone should rescue them. But he does not stop there. He goes on to even talk about bloodshed. Here it is.
You know, everything that we're sitting here talking about, we're all so passionate right now. The things that we are wanting to fight for, it doesn't matter if our votes don't count.
That's exactly right.
Because, you know, if our election systems continue to be rigged and continue to be stolen, then it's going to lead to one place, and that's bloodshed. And I will tell you, as much as I'm willing to defend our liberty at all costs, there's nothing that I would dread doing more than having to pick up arms against a fellow American. And the way that we can have recourse against that is if we all passionately demand that we have election security in all 50 states.
Okay, he says there's nothing he would dread more than having, I guess, to kill, right? Take up arms against fellow Americans. Bloodshed is what he's calling for. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a current United States congressman who does not have a great relationship with the truth, by the way, okay? You can do your own independent research on that and find it. Let me remind you, he also repeated the false claims about 2020. The election fraud claims he promoted, completely untrue. He claims that Trump actually won the election and it was stolen from him. He's also anti-mask and an anti-vax guy. But you know, what else is new with these guys, right? So in response, the questions about these remarks from the congressman there, his spokesperson, who's trying to do damage control, the spokesperson is Luke Ball. And Luke Ball said, and I quote, Congressman Cawthorn was referring to actively working on getting answers about political prisoners following January 6th. They're not political prisoners. Nothing else. He is not actively working on any protest. To assert otherwise would completely take his remarks out of context. Wait a minute. Hold up. The man literally said the word bloodshed. How are we taking anything he's saying out of context? He provided significant context at that meeting, all right? The spokesperson also said the congressman wants due process for the prisoners and does not believe that is what they are currently receiving. He was not advocating for any form of legal action, only that they receive full due process. They already are receiving full due process. The hell are you talking about? They're incarcerated. They've been arrested. Some of them have already made bond, those that were given bond. Others have not. They will have a court date set. This is called due process. This is literally what due process looks like for everybody else. Why is it not due process now as it relates to these folks? Adrienne, what are your thoughts here?
I think these tropes that Cawthorn is promulgating are extremely problematic for our nation because not only does it undermine our justice system to the extent that there is justice, but it continues to perpetuate the lies that really led to January 6th insurrection attempt. And it really does kind of reinforce a narrative that we are going to have more of this, but also that you cannot trust our election system or the justice system. And it's individuals who benefit from it most who have been supporting it forever. Now they're turning on it and failing to see the actual inadequacies and deficiencies of the system. And it's essentially just falsities. And Cawthorn, he's in a position of public trust and integrity. He should be held accountable for this. And you know what? I know we love this thought of freedom of speech and whatnot. There needs to be consequences, because if you are in a leadership position and yet you can't even keep your account on Twitter because you lying so hard, you should not be able to continue to be in your job. The fact is that people are being lied to, and they, as a result, are engaging in all sorts of nonsense that is hurting our nation.
Yeah, and he's inciting riotous behavior. And when it happens, he's going to say through his spokesperson, no, that's not what the congressman said. You all took that out of context. And let me remind everyone, there are significant scandals that have been reported about this congressman, including sexual assault allegations, lies saying that his friend left him for dead in a car accident that paralyzed him. The friend said that's exactly what did not happen. And it goes on and on. But with all of these misrepresentations or accounts of misrepresentation of the truth, he continues to ascend in the GOP because he continues to say exactly what they want to hear. Right? They don't care about anything else. Okay, it has happened a Florida doctor has been assaulted physically, a fist fight to be precise, okay? Anti-mask protester appeared to assault a doctor outside of a, school board meeting. This is in Lee County, Florida. The incident occurred outside of the district headquarters after Lee County imposed a 30-day mask mandate in schools. NBC2 News reporter Dave Elias, who witnessed the incident, said, and I quote, "What I'm seeing here is just unbelievable," Elias said during a live broadcast. "I can tell you that I just saw two doctors try to walk into this building and they were shoved off the sidewalk back into the street." Let me give you a screenshot of a doctor being pushed. There you go, all right? It was a chaotic scene. Dave Elias asked the doctor about the incident. Here's the quote. "I was just trying to make my way to the door so I could come in and fill out a comment card. And the woman stood in front of me and bumped me out of the way," the doctor said, adding that she was not surprised by the violence because "I've been watching it on social media for weeks and months." In the middle of the interview with the doctor, get this now, in the middle of the interview, once again, cameras rolling, everybody knows the camera is rolling. A fight between parents broke out right next to them. Here's a screenshot of that fight. School board meetings, Florida, violence. Adrienne, this is becoming an everyday story, every day. This is something that may happen once a year before COVID, right? Where we see it, there's video, there's recording. Okay, it's a big story. This is happening virtually every day now at some school board around America. A lot of those obviously in Florida. What are your thoughts about it?
And this is a direct product of individuals like Cawthorn who think they're out there speaking truth to power when really they're just misleading the masses. And because we have individuals who no longer actually have any faith whatsoever in science, and we've essentially had this administration and leadership create this level of division during the Trump era where people don't even subscribe to common sense anymore. What we are having is people engaging in violence, fistfights, and getting all sorts of ornery simply because they do not want to adhere to science. They don't want to believe in any kind of change whatsoever. And this is the new America, unfortunately. It was the old America, it's just trumped up on nonsense now.
Remember, this is all about masks, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around something, okay? All of these parents who are in these public school systems, Adrienne, they have already agreed to mandates. They've agreed to vaccination mandates. They have agreed to attire or clothing mandates because there's a dress code for the school. They have agreed to mandates of timeliness. Students have to be in class at a certain time, or there's a policy that would say you cannot come back to this school, or there's a suspension policy. They already adhere to various mandates on a regular basis. Why do you think the mask mandate is all of a sudden the great evil in their societal understanding?
In part because it has been politicized heavily by essentially leadership, largely coming from the Trump administration, and it's still been created as an us-them issue. Plus, it is truly the reflection that, hey, we are still in a global pandemic. Also the thought that, again, our bodies, each and every one of us can be a lethal threat. And when you're dealing with individuals who've enjoyed considerable privilege and been able to essentially pull up on the beach and step up on a reporter and do whatever they please, then essentially they're not gonna wanna be restricted at all, especially when it's been made to think that this is a free rights kind of issue. Essentially, we have a lot of ignorant people out there, and we have a lot of people in leaderships who are coaxing them to continue and to have that ignorance flourish. And as a result, we are all sick, and things are not necessarily gonna get any better anytime soon.
What's amazing to me, and that's very well said, what's amazing to me, I get phone calls from some of my friends that are still K through 12 educators. My mom, who's an educator, school board members that I know in the metro area of Atlanta, they tell me they have never seen this much parental engagement ever. How sad is that, right?
Yeah, if that's what it took to actually have parents be interested in what their children are doing. Wow, that really speaks to just how broken our society is.
Absolutely. Adrienne, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Tell people how they can follow you and get your remarkable book. How can they do that?
All right, so my book, International Book Award, 2-time winner, Staying in the Game, the playbook for beating workplace sexual harassment. It is available anywhere books are sold and also in the TYT store. So show some love and please grab yourself a copy. I would love to hear your thoughts and feedback. It is a very fun read. And you can also hit me up on Twitter at Adrienne Law, Instagram at Adrienne Lawrence.
Thank you so much for everything. All right, we got more. Stick and stay.
So a lot of progressive office holders are doing something fun. I like fun. They're doing the last 2 years in 2 minutes. Okay, we're gonna try it here. First, I wanna let you guys know about the years before that. Hey, remember we started the Just Democrats here on the Young Turks. It was officially launched on our air, basically by you guys. And then we featured AOC, we featured Cori Bush, and Ro Khanna became the first ever Just Democrat incumbent, all on the Young Turks. Now, the last 2 years have been a spectacular follow-up to that. So let's put the 2 minutes on the clock and do this. Young Turks got to start back in 2002, and I think we've been an important part of the progressive movement ever since. What we mainly do is amplify the progressive voice and candidates out there, and I think we've done a pretty good job. Right now, we're currently #1 most engaged news politics network online, beating CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC, all of them. We're #1 in total minutes watched. That means not only the number of people watching, but how long they watch. We just crossed 20 million followers and 500 million monthly views. Now, why? That's because actually the country's progressive. It's 2/3 progressive, and you guys have allowed us to be your voice, and we're incredibly thankful for that. So what did we do with that voice? Well, let's look at 2019. We went all over the country talking to you guys and the candidates. So we were in Miami, we were in Detroit, we were in Houston, and we were in Iowa. In fact, we were all over Iowa. You guys were all over Iowa, and all of the candidates saw you guys. We had wonderful people speaking, like the one and only Nina Turner at our rallies. Bernie Sanders stopped by, Andrew Yang, Elizabeth Warren. We interviewed almost everyone on the campaign trail, with the exception of Biden and Buttigieg. And we held them accountable. We even did a progressive economic pledge, and so many wonderful people signed on to that. Bernie Sanders, Warren, Marianne Williamson, AOC, the entire squad, Justice Democrats, and so many others. Now, on top of all that, we started a show called The Conversation, where we featured so many progressive thinkers, writers, and candidates. And one of the candidates we featured in 2019 was Jamal Bowman. Here comes Jamal Bowman. Then we had an amazing 2020. We hired a climate reporter. Damage Report passed 500,000 subscribers. Young Turks passed 5 million subscribers. We're getting the message out to more and more people. Bernie Sanders comes on in the heat of the primary. He comes on after the election to say what we're gonna do for the future. And then Marie Newman wins. Jamal Bowman wins. Cori Bush wins. And then just when you thought it couldn't get any better, here comes Nina Turner. Hello, somebody. And she's running for Congress, and she comes on the Young Turks first. On election week, we had nearly 2 million hours of viewing. We're #1 destination for progressives. You made all that happen. This is amazing, and thank you for those 2 years. What, I went past 2 minutes? Of course!
Viewers had asked for an interview with the TYT Lizard. Mr. Lizard. Oh, you changed colors today. Nice. I don't even know how you feel about us. Do you even like us?
Well, you guys made me this awesome house, so I'm kind of in your debt. I was found outside on the street, and you gave me a home. Granted, it was a really crappy home for a while, but then through the power of fundraising, I became a person who has a multi-level Trump-style mansion.
You do. By the way, you never looked better, man. Normally, you're just green or just brown, but today you're in mid-lizard, right?
I'm not very smart. I'm a lizard, so I don't know how the science works. I guess this is just my mood. It's not every day that thresholds like this are broken. I'm just so excited. I can't contain my pigmentation.
And now you're showing it off.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never seen the lizard like this before.
Welcome back, it's Indisputable. Let me read some of these amazing comments. Thank you all for being so interactive, all right? Don't forget, right after Indisputable, make sure you stick and stay. Twitch exclusive. The big homie Jordan Yule deep dive, twitch.tv/TYT. Also, the conversation. Watch the conversation today live, 5:30 Eastern time, 2:30 Pacific time. You can also go to tyt.com/live, and that happens right before the Young Turks. TYT member, next TYT reporter. He is calling them political hostages because he wants his base to believe Trump and Trump supporters have nothing to do with January 6th. Just can't believe they have gone from protesters, even though they were terrorists, to now political prisoners. All right, Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon. Those domestic terrorists are receiving due process compared to minor crimes committed by others. Many are being given a slap on the wrist and set free with minimum bail. That's correct. Some have broken the conditions of release, been arrested again, and set free again, even after proving they can't be trusted. One was banned from having guns. Immediately upon release, bought a number of guns, and is still free. That's right. They actually found the guns. He blamed it on his son, though. YouTube super chat, Amy Jarrell, thank you for that. R. King 1 Garcia, my junior and senior high was 5% whites and others. Even when people ask to touch your hair, it's uncomfortable. That's right. Tyler Hackner, they always have the out of context excuse after saying something terrible. And you know what they also do? They never give you the in context answer, okay? If it's out of context, okay, great. Tell me what the context was, go. And they never do, all right? Miter Sangita, check the places where most terrorist insurrectionists came from. These places are areas where they are becoming minorities. They're angry and afraid. There's an entire research about that, and you're right. It's more about how they view their local community. Sandy L, these same people never went to a school board meeting, and some don't even have kids at these schools. That's right, that's been revealed in a lot of interviews, okay? All right. Zach Haravlopativ. I know I messed that up. Please charge it to my head, not my heart, okay? Thank you, TYT, for being the voice of sanity in this chaotic world. Happy to have my sub anniversary while watching one of my favorite hosts, Dr. Richie, and the illustrious Adrienne Lawrence. Thank you for that, very kind of you. Mike Boy Raps, the best way to show that you understand science is to beat up everyone who is more knowledgeable than you. I guess that's it, right? One guy literally said, who's running for elected office in Florida, he said, forget all this data, forget all this science. I'm gonna take 20 strong men. We're gonna remove them. We're gonna give them an option. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. In the bullpen today, I have John Burnett, managing director of One Empire Group and political strategist, and also NYU adjunct assistant professor. John, thanks for being on Indisputable. How are you?
Doing well, thanks.
All right, so we're gonna chop it up about a couple of items. We know about the mask mandates, the debate about vaccines, anti-vaxxers, school board meetings going into chaos. I don't want to presume what you know or believe about these COVID restrictions. So if you would, give us your sentiment, your feeling about the COVID restrictions that are happening across the country.
Yeah, they're happening everywhere. This is in my opinion, it's a nonpartisan issue. It's more about freedom, and it's more about, what is the sentiment of the voters, the constituents in those districts, right? So we should remove politics and actually allow those districts, the collective within those districts, to determine what the policy is and not have it mandated by the government, because we've seen a lot of inconsistencies. And there's been overuse of hiding behind science, and the science keeps moving. It keeps changing. Last time I checked, gravity still remains the same. So I think we need to stop misusing the word science and just say, hey, there's a new research study or new information, and just state what that information is, and then let the constituents determine, pretty much whether it's valid or not, and weigh the options for not only their children, but work requirements and so forth. So I look forward to getting into the details with you today.
Okay, some of the stuff you said was kind of funny to me. So you do know that COVID-19 is emerging and it is different. You have a variant now, right? You know that, correct?
Well, to use the mainstream media word, it's surging, not emerging.
Well, sir, do you know? Come on, man, answer my question. Do you know that there's a variant? Are you aware?
Yes, they call it the Delta variant, and there might be some other variants that they have planned.
Correct.
I'm sorry, that might actually start developing over the next several months.
That's correct. Now, the dominant variant is obviously the Delta variant. Roughly 95% of all new cases are connected to this new Delta variant. That Delta variant can impact you even if you have the vaccine. But if you have the vaccine, you are likely not to die from COVID based on the actual science. That's based on ongoing collection of science, right? It's part of the process. So you put some things in here that I want us to dissect. Are you just anti-government mandates? Let me start there. Or are there governmental mandates that you do in fact agree with?
I think going through the list of mandates in the power of the government goes far beyond the 15 minutes of this segment, but I'm happy to come back on to dive deeper into that element. But I think you want to discuss COVID restrictions and masks mandates, right? So I think what is actually more telling than the science are the numbers. And the current numbers, by way of example, I live in New York City. So there are approximately 3,330 new cases, and there's 23 deaths. And my heart goes out to those family members of those 23 people who passed away. But what's rarely talked about are the numbers, right? So when you look at the deaths, right, compared to the number of cases that I just gave you, that's 0.006%. Now, those who are not really good at math, that's a hell of a lot less than 1%, right? So, and it's also a lot less than the height of the COVID-19 pandemic last year coming into the early part of this year. So yes, there are new cases, but the threat is not the same. So I don't think that we have to re-engage the mask mandates and the business restrictions and the leisure restrictions that we had last year. The numbers just don't bear it out.
All right, so there's actually been an increase of 12,000 based on the most recent data from New York. You had reported at 43,400 as your aggregate count with the variant. Literally in the state of New York, you've had 55,400 people that have already died from COVID-19. Now, nationally, the numbers are staggering as well. Between 1% to 3% of individuals that contracted based on that region are dying from the virus. When you compare that to, let's say, the flu, which a lot of people like to try to make those viruses comparable, the flu is at a rate of 0.01% death rate. And coronavirus or COVID-19 has a 5 times plus mortality rate. So it's very difficult to make a case that these things are the same. But let me go back to the mandates, because the mask mandates are important. due to the science. The science says that mask mandates or mask wearing will decrease the spread of COVID-19 by up to 90%. You decrease the spread, you also decrease the number of people that contract it, you decrease the number of hospitalizations, and thus you decrease the number of deaths associated with COVID-19. The big fight, however, has been with mask mandates to school boards. You said something quite interesting in your opening statement, brother. You said that you do not like government overreach and you think that local communities should be able to figure this out locally. So let me bring you to the state of Florida. In the state of Florida, Governor DeSantis has created a statewide mandate. The local communities have the legal authority to give mandates to their administrators inside of their school system. However, Governor DeSantis has said they should not have that local authority, as you suggest is proper and appropriate. Governor DeSantis, through his executive order, says no to the statewide, no to the local control through a statewide executive order that was just shot down by a judge who said he did not have the legal authority to take this power away from local school boards. So, brother, my question to you is this: if you are a no government mandate guy, okay, it seems like we have to choose between two mandates right now. Either you are for the statewide mandate banning local authority, or you are for the local mandate, because you got two mandates here. You can't say you're an anti-mandate guy and then you agree with one mandate and not the other. Either you are for or against.
You've been talking for a long time. Let me jump in because this is a show. So let me first correct you. The thing is, yes, the total deaths in New York State is approximately 55,000, right? But I thought we were talking about this phase of the pandemic. So we can always reach back into the worst part of the pandemic, but right now we're actually looking at the current threat, not backwards. So if you look currently going forward, again, when you compare current cases to the death toll, which has drastically declined, is 0.006%.
Brother, let me go ahead. Let me go ahead and update you now.
So it's very important.
Hold on, brother.
Actually,
brother, give me 1 second. I apologize for interrupting you, but I can't let you get away with that. You literally have more children at a higher rate being hospitalized and dying than the onset of the original COVID-19. The variant is ripping through this country and is ripping through school-age children like it never has. Brother, just give me a second. Just give me a second.
Okay.
The reason why I brought up the school board mandates is because literally these local officials and school teachers agree, over 80% of school teachers are for the mask mandates. If you're saying that local control should run this thing, and we're talking about saving children because they are now impacted in ways they were not during the first wave, why do you not believe that science, but you believe the first set of scientific data?
Let me answer your question. Again, viewers always look at the numbers, not the words that people tell you, and compare the numbers. Now, with regard to the mask mandates, and you're saying that my position is, leaving it to the discretion of the people. Now, the thing is, yes, governors, just like DeSantis, come up with pro mask mandates or banning mask mandates. But you also have to look at the local government, right? The school board leader is also taking it upon, I think he's a male, upon himself to actually dictate what happens in that school district without listening to the parents. So what we could talk about DeSantis, and we could also talk about the head of the local school board, but we have to bring in the parents and the voters within that district to see what they want, not just go with the person solely in charge, also not go with the loudest person, right? So that's what I'm saying. If we really go by the will of the people, that's the direction that we should go.
All right, so let's do this. The will of the people is absolutely important. And I'm not sure what school board you're referring to, but the districts that are in question, the parents are for mask mandates. There are a loud, Broward County, and Alachua County. You got it? I don't know which board you're referring to because both of those school systems are led by women. So I'm not sure what board you're referring to. And those school systems are the ones. Go ahead, say that again.
Gender has no place here. Whether
sir, you said you think it's a man, a guy.
No. The article that I read, I think his name is Corcoran. He actually passed a mandate that's contrary to the governor's mask mandate.
That's incorrect. That's not true. He did not pass a mandate contrary to the governor. I highly encourage you to do your research before you come debate me.
Well, that's according to the story that you're producing.
What story? Where is it at?
So,
name the source.
Story.
Name the source.
You got a lot of papers there. You shuffle around. Maybe you'll find it if you know.
No, sir. You the one made the false proclamation on the show. Back it up. I don't have to back up your proclamation. That's untrue. I've already researched it. Corcoran, Richard Corcoran.
Your followers can find me at IAM John Burnett, and they can read the story for themselves.
All right, they will find you. He did not issue anything that was contrary to the governor's order. Corcoran, Richard Corcoran, former Speaker of the House of Florida, was appointed to this position. A rubber stamp individual for the governor, is in sync with the governor's order. As a matter of fact, he is the one who implemented the governor's order to take money away from 2 school districts in the state of Florida. He is not antithetical to the governor's order.
And the courts will decide how that goes, right? That particular mandate, it'll play out in the courts. So that way.
So I'm going to finish my statement, brother.
The statement, the state mandate, and it'll also check the local mandate and make sure that the law is adhered to. Just like Biden's border rules were overturned, right, by the Supreme Court. So these things happen every day.
Listen, man, John, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
These happen.
All right, and at some point you just got to say, listen, man. All right, I may not be right about that. I may have misread that, but I'm going to finish my initial point, brother. Okay. I don't care how much filibustering you do. You're going to get these facts, okay? Corcoran is not antithetical to DeSantis. He is literally carrying out the political will of Governor DeSantis. He is the office.
I may have gotten the name wrong, but when you read the article, there are certain people that are on that board that pass certain things that's antithetical to the state mandate. May have gotten the name wrong, right? But the point is,
brother,
the central point.
You got the office wrong. You got the name wrong. The office wrong.
State and local. That's my point.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and finish.
And it should really boil down to the parents. The power is in the people.
You're filibustering, man.
Not government.
Okay, so you're filibustering. So here's the thing. The guy that you referenced is not opposite of DeSantis. He is literally a surrogate of DeSantis. And he is the one who ordered to defund the school system based on the salary matrix of all of the school board members calculated in a monthly fine. So now they are literally defunding the schools. So these individuals are for defunding schools, but not for defunding the police. You gotta see the irony in that. So that's number one. Number two, the judge has already made a ruling. It's not as if it needs to go through the court again. Literally, the judge already ruled that the original state executive order that DeSantis signed was, and I quote, without legal authority, okay? So no, he's not able, based on this judicial ruling, to even have the mask ban or the mask mandate ban in place. And the school system is on strong legal footing as it relates to requiring masks for their school district. Now, I don't know what the argument about this really is, because school systems have the ability to mandate vaccinations. They have the ability to mandate dress codes. They have the ability to mandate a teacher's prerequisite credentials. They have the ability to mandate policy. It's called administrative law. They've always had these abilities. And all of a sudden, because of a mask, the governor wants to take away the ability. And now the governor is in defiance of the spirit and the technical ruling of the judge.
Well, again, my central point is there was a state mandate and a local mandate, and both of those mandates were in conflict, right? Whether I got the name wrong or right, that's immaterial. My point is there's a conflict there between state and local. Secondly, to your point, the local school board is not a dictatorship. We've seen local school boards around the country, right? Cave under pushback from parents not to implement Common Core or not to go with other things that the school board wanted to mandate. So the school boards are not all powerful, right? And they do not have the last word. That is the only thing that I'm saying here. It's left up to the parents and the voters in that district that should determine what is right for those schools. Not necessarily the governor and not necessarily solely the school board. Did I make myself clear?
Hell no, you're not clear on anything, brother.
I think I'm very clear.
No, you're not. When you go back and look at this again, you will see. Now, you've changed your position, so the governor does not have the authority here. Who voted those school board members into office? Who did that?
Yeah, right. But the point is.
But I'm asking you, who voted them into office?
People in, right? But when they don't do what we need to do, right, or we think they should be doing, then we have a right to check the power, right? And I'm letting all your viewers know, whether it's local, state, or federal, you have the power. Never let them dictate to you if you feel like they've gone amok or gone down the wrong path.
Right.
People have the power, and we should never forget it.
All right, and that's great, and that's true. This is a people-generated democracy. I agree with that 100%. And part of that democracy method is to vote elected representatives into office. So the question stands. We know the answer to that. We know the answer to that. The school board is voted in by those local parents, right? Now, let me ask you this, brother. What if you as a parent or you as a group of parents, you wanted to get rid of the dress code enforcement in the school system? What are your thoughts about that? Should they be able to do that if they want to?
If they get enough support,
yeah.
Right?
But well, how about changing the drinking age from 21 down to 15? Should they do that if enough parents agree with it?
Most parents probably won't, so I think that's a safe.
But I'm just saying, if they happen to do that.
Hey, you know what? That I embrace open discussion and open dialogue.
So maybe
that's what I embrace, because that is a fundamental element of our republic that makes our democracy strong, and that's why people all over this world
parents saying
want to come to America, so that way their voices are not silenced.
Got it. All right. Okay, brother. Listen, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, John Burnett, ladies and gentlemen. All right, just remember, make sure to take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.